Hey there. So, my name is Canadian Nurse Gary, and I'm actually the co host of the Everything Travel Nurse Show today. And what I want to talk to you real quick about is the value of your nursing degree. Now, have you ever just stopped and thought to yourself, like, hey, so this Canadian nursing degree is actually good all over the world? I mean, it can take you to Florida, it can take you to Australia, it can take you everywhere that you need to go. And stopping and recognizing that the value of your degree is a way to travel around the world is a really important value that you should stop and consider to yourself. Let's say you want to establish permanent residency in another nation so that you can have greater travel nurse ability. That's probably something you never stopped and thought about to yourself, but that's something that's a very real possibility. Like, you can go spend your winters down in Florida, and then at the same time you can go back and spend summers up in British Columbia, Canada, and just have a really beautiful life established for yourself. And that may not be something that you might always think about, but like, that's something that you can set up for yourself, and you should really stop and think about in your future is, where do I want to live in the future? You don't have to just stay in one spot, and that nursing degree takes you everywhere because it has great value to establish citizenships and residencies in other nations. So stop and think about your future and what you want to accomplish in your post-nursing years. Now, another really important aspect of immigrating to another country is which country is going to be best for you, and you're going to have to do some research when it comes to figuring out which country you want to immigrate to and what country is most in value towards how you feel, and maybe what's the weather going to be like. So just stop here and think to yourself, like, what country serves the best purpose for me? All right, so when it does come to stopping and thinking about immigrating or establishing permanent residency in a second country so you can travel nurse further places, is stopping and thinking to yourself, what is the immigration requirements, what is the visa requirements, and what is the state, and what is the language, what are all these different factors that will allow me to either be successful or not to be successful in these other countries. Because believe it or not, like, I could never even go to Quebec because I don't speak French very well. And so that's one of the things that you have to stop and think about to yourself when you're trying to immigrate to another country, and making sure that you fit like everything that you're going to need to be successful in that second country. And without further ado, let's start talking about some of those other different countries and some of the agencies that we can find in them. Let's start off this journey by heading to the Great White North, to Canada, So starting off, you can see that looking around in Canada, there's quite a few agencies you can find. There's definitely a whole lot more throughout the entire nation, but Select looks like it's be the most popular on Google, and gotta love the Google. Travel nursing, they actually have an international immigration and visa status and how to come to their country that's a lot more clear. So we're going to use this for internet purposes. It's a very well written website. You can see where you can register, and you can talk to some officials from Canada, and they'll help you out with the entire process, which you're going to really need help immigrating to another country. Scrolling down, you can see that when we look at the immigration, here's all the information for international nurses, and it gives all the different information you need, that if you say you were an American nurse or a Canadian nurse, how to get started with the company. But then they've also got, for like specifically for the United Kingdom, they have an entire section dedicated to just that. For Canadian nurses, they have a section, and then for American nurses and Australian nurses specifically, this is like really set up for them to just be able to come through and get that licensure really fast and get it done. So if you have one of those licensures, that's your value. Alright, you guys, Travel Nurse Australia. This one would be pretty cool to go to. It's nice and warm down there, but they've been having some very serious problems down in the land of Oz recently with nursing. And you can see that going to a company called HCA, which is called Healthcare Australia, it seems, through most of the research that I've done, this seems to be the biggest travel nurse agency throughout Australia. They have locations in pretty much every Providence of Australia, and they have a really convenient section for international nurses. They have a application spot where you can put in your application with like your resume, and once you get your resume, they pretty much email you and send you all the information that you need and all the options that you have for immigrating to Australia. Now, they've got some pretty cool things about here, like blogs and some like how to be successful in Australia as a travel nurse, and who doesn't love the kangaroos, but they've got quite a bit of information on this website. It seems like this is a very well established website and company that they can really take you all over Australia. And really interesting, they actually do have jobs in New Zealand as well, so it seems that like Australia and New Zealand just have a really close connection. It seems like it's really close to like that Canadian and American, where you see there's a lot more immigration between the two countries, and so it's pretty easy to get the licensure between those two countries. Yeah, that's about it. It's a pretty cool website, and HCA is a good one if you're thinking about moving to Australia. So Continental Nursing is an agency that operates out of the United Kingdom and mostly England area is what it looks like. And this gives you quite a bit of information at Continental Nursing UK. This looks like the biggest agency all throughout the UK, England area, but it's kind of interesting because I don't really see anything on here saying that they go to Ireland, Wales, or over into Scotland. So this is kind of a difficult one to see. It seems like there's different branches everywhere you go. So it seems like this is a really complicated topic, and when you want to go to Ireland, it's completely different than if you want to say Scotland versus UK. But this is the United Kingdom, the England version of Continental Nursing, the travel nurse agency that you would want to go through. They have the most information. They have all of the immigration process that you would really want to go through. Now this is the part of the show where we're going to take a closer look. Every week's going to be a little bit different what we look at, depending on where my mind decides to take us. But there's different aspects of travel nursing that we just don't always think about that really do deserve a closer look. Hey you guys, Travel Nurse Gary here. I'm the host of this show, and on this week's Closer Look, what I want to talk about is being a travel nurse throughout the U.S. I've worked in 6 different U.S. states, officially been a travel nurse for 4 years this week, and what I'd like to really say is that throughout the United States, I've been able to meet so many immigrants from other nations that it's been really cool to talk to people from all over the world. So I just want to say, like, if you're a nurse and you're thinking to yourself, like, I'd really love to go travel internationally, and you're from Cameroon, Africa, you can. I've met quite a few nurses from West Africa, South Africa, and pretty much from all parts of the globe, from Russia, Ukraine, Uzbekistan, Lebanon, Australia, New Zealand, Fiji, Canada, all the way down to Argentina, Mexico. Pretty much I've worked with nurses from all over the world. It's one of my favorite things about being an American nurse is working with people from these nurses from all over the world, and I just love, like, when I get the chance to go out with them. It's just so much fun to really learn more about their culture and to learn more about, like, the foods that they eat and, like, what separates their culture versus ours, and how healthcare is performed in other nations of the world. And it's just been, like, one of my, like, the best experiences of my life has been to just be able to talk to these nurses. I really enjoy it, and I just want to encourage you to say that yes, you can do it too. You can immigrate to another country, especially if you're a nurse. Once you have that nursing degree, it is worth so much, like, you don't understand. Like, pretty much anything's possible, and you can always just get past that mental block and say, yes, you can immigrate, and yes, you can have multiple residencies throughout different nations as well. So always keep that in your mind, and that's this week's Closer Look. What's up, guys? So when it comes to travel nursing in America, the rules can get quite complicated because every single state is a little bit different and they have their own nursing licensure. But with travel nursing agencies in the U.S., I'm going to give you 3 different recommendations because I just consistently always hear good things about these 3 different companies. So I'm going to say that this is the first one, Medical Solutions. We're on their website. I've worked with this company for about a year now, and I really enjoy working for them because my recruiter is like really, really on top of things, and she just always has everything all done with, like everything is all set up, and I can't complain at all because they have really good health insurance, they have really good contracts, they're competitive on the pay scale, and I've just really enjoyed working with my recruiter. Second company, Aya. This company actually does have an entire section of their website dedicated for travel nurses coming from Canada, and it looks like as though Canadian nurses can come on over and jump right into travel nursing in the United States, and they have an entire section dedicated to that. So for all those Canadian nurses, I wanted you to check that out. If you're coming from a different part of the world, like South America, Europe, Australia, when you do come to the United States, it looks like you have to do a year in the United States and kind of figure out how the healthcare system works and like a specialty that you want to be in. Like if you're an OR nurse, you need to go do a year in one state, and then from there you can start travel nursing once you get a year in. But you do have to have a year of experience in your specialty field. You can't do this after 6 months of nursing and then go into travel nursing. And some of these specialty fields want 2 to 3 years. So make sure you kind of understand the rules of each of the different states and the different specialties, and talk to a recruiter to understand those rules of each one. Third company, TNAA, Travel Nurse Across America. Now, my sister works for this company, and she says really great things about it. She's had really great experiences, and they have contracts everywhere. So that's a really good one if you want more diversity in your travel abilities. All of them are good companies though, and I can't say anything bad about them, and I continuously always hear great things about them. So these are my recommendations for companies in the US. Hey there you guys, so that's what we've got for this week on the Everything Traveler Show. If you liked this week's episode, hey, give the big Canadians a thumbs up, eh? In addition, if you'd like to see more videos in the future, hit that subscribe button. And if you'd like to leave any comments in the section below, please, I'd love to hear your questions, concerns, comments. You're allowed to disagree with me on my channel. This is an open forum for communication. International traveling is something I'm really fascinated with, and I hope that you enjoyed this episode. We'll see you here next time on the Everything Traveler Show.